Hi guys, welcome back to the TalkDxb. Today's topic is social media, and is it bringing us together or tearing us apart?
Well. We think it is tearing us apart.
Why?
Well, that's awkward. We think, I mean, you go.
Okay. So it's also coming from my own experience. Like what I see, the biggest example is the kids. Okay, like nowadays you see them like chilling. People like go to a cafe, you'll just see people chilling together on the same table with their phones or whatever. And I believe that it comes from,
I think the same thing, the like people being antisocial, people being in their phones, can say that people that perhaps are antisocial and are introvert, it gives them a chance to be able to talk in like a different voice or voice their opinions on things where they wouldn't actually in public, right? So they can start blogs, they can talk, they don't have to necessarily be in front of you. So the same way that's the thing, that people are in their phones, people also can have a voice that they didn't necessarily have before.
Yeah. I more echo that sentiment, because now what we're seeing some people that have maybe come from a certain background with certain problems. Now they're saying, okay, like this is how I'm gonna bring my situation to life, or here's how I'm gonna shed some light on what I'm going through, and then they kind of grow into a certain character. You know what I mean? So I think it's actually bringing us a little bit more closer, I guess within certain areas of life, but definitely now within the kids, you're starting to see more characters come out. And things are becoming more acceptable now. So kids aren't necessarily, you know, so scared to voice their opinions now, because they know that the person that they watch shares the same sentiment as them, and now it's cool, you know what I mean? Versus it being about, you know,
and they can almost and they can almost test the water first, like before showing their face. They can be like, how are people going to respond to that?
Yeah, but the thing is, somebody shouldn't be able to express themselves by a device. Like that shouldn't be.
So for those people that can't express themselves like face to face, how?
No, I hear your point, but what I'm saying is, if, for example, I'm in a relationship and if I'm out to dinner or if I'm having dinner in my house, I wouldn't expect my partner to have his phone there. But it has happened a lot.
That's
because it's very easy to get into social media and on your phone all the time. I do it sometimes, not necessarily that I have something to specifically go and do on my social media. It's just to scroll and it's just to pass time. Exactly. Why can't we pass time by having a conversation like we are now? Like, why can't we go out to a park or have a picnic or do something productive together without a mobile device in between?
Like, even like the point you guys were talking about, like, let's say I'm a person who's very shy and I cannot talk to people face to face. There are many other ways for me to like work on that. I don't have to go to social media. Okay, it helps. I'm not saying it doesn't.
What kind of things would help it? Like,
well,
what?
I mean, before people used to talk even though there wasn't social media.
But I think it's elevated. It's elevated the fact that they can talk more.
It's elevated, but at the same time, I'm not saying, of course it has its positive, you know, influence or whatever, like it has a positive side to it, but I'm just saying that it also can work without it. But I believe that it tears us apart way more than it does bring us together.
I think it's very interesting. Just you said about like being in a relationship, and whether it be you or your partner checking their phone and they don't really need to check their phone. I think that kind of comes from, like, let's say for example the house. Like when you choose your partner, are you getting with someone that's very social media orientated and you are kind of like okay with it, but they're going OTT with it, or is your social media is your partner totally against social media, whereby even you just checking it, even if you're not necessarily sending a message but just checking it, will that aggravate them? I do think that.
Yeah, but then that differs, doesn't it? Because I mean, I have social media. I'm not saying that social media doesn't bring us together in some aspects, but I think it tears us up more.
Is that from a relationship perspective?
I was just giving you one scenario. For example, you mentioned that if somebody wanted to express themselves, issues that they may be having, they will do it through social media. Like nowadays we have WhatsApp, there's WhatsApp groups, there's Instagram groups, there's whatever it may be. where people go to express themselves. Why can't they come together and have a conversation and express themselves?
I think it's very...
What is the screen doing for that person that they can't do face to face?
Because I think there's a massive difference with levels of realness. Face to face realness is different than behind the screen realness. Yeah. So you might be a very real person. In your group of friends, I would assume that there's less real people like you, where you can come into a group and say, do you know what, we're going to have a real conversation, and then at the end of this conversation, I'm going to walk away with the same feelings that I walked in here with, which means we're going to discuss it, we're going to end it, and we're still going to be cool. I don't think many people can have that conversation. But the moment the screen is in their hand...
But why do you think that?
Because that's why people are so active on social media in that respect. Yeah. Is because...
But it's like she was saying, social media hasn't always been here. So at some point or another, people would have been able to have that conversation.
But not everyone.
So
but it's not that though. It's just it's force of habit though, isn't it? Being on your phone, being on social media. It's just that it's a habit that's been created now by society. Because before we could have those conversations.
But habit is an individual thing. We cannot say it's not. No one has given us a habit. So any smokers, for example. You decided to smoke. You can get into social media, and depending on how your character's set up, you will
use it how...
you will use it, whereby it can get addictive. For example, if you post a picture and you are chasing likes or comments, and then you will be geared towards that. And I think everything also is a correlation to something being repetitive. So if I post a picture at 6, and for consistently, say over a year, I get 60 likes, I don't necessarily need to be super into Instagram to post again and say, "Raw, I only got 40 likes. Like, what's going on?" Do you know what I mean? So,
are you saying you don't need to do that?
I'm saying you don't need to, because obviously there's different levels. So if you're super into Instagram, you're checking every minute. Even if you're not really into social media, you're still going to know kind of how the behavior and the functionalities of Instagram works.
Right.
So you're more likely to check it. Yeah? So in that example, you're not going to have a situation where people just literally, okay, I'm now out with friends, I've tagged where I am and I'm going to put it down and leave it for the whole entire dinner. That lifestyle is not there. You want to now be sharing those experiences. You now want to be discussing those experiences with more than just the people that are in front of you.
Exactly, and that's the point we're talking about. Like this, it does in a way or another. Plus, look.
Think about it, humans, we're supposed to express ourselves. There's a bunch of emotions that we feel on a daily basis, right? I'm going to talk about a girl and a boy being together. Okay. Now, in order for them to express themselves, they at some point or another need to come together and have physical touch, right? Right?
Okay, yeah.
Now, that's how we operate with every single human being. Now, the thing that I'm trying to say is that it's tearing us apart, is people are not coming together like that anymore. They're not going to greet each other. They're not hugging each other. They're spending a lot of their time on social media and they're filming places, cars, houses, wherever they are, just for a social status. It's not necessarily to connect.
But it kind of is connecting, because now you getting to connect with people, not just here, not just in front of you. You connect with your family around the world. You connect with people around the world. You start messaging people that have shown a like in what, the kind of content you're doing, and then you start messaging them, and then...
Like with the taking pictures of cars, and I think that brings it to another level within social media, because for me, if I'm on social media and I see a nice car or a nice place to eat, I'm that driven type. I'm like, okay, so that's the level. Okay, I need to step up whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it be outside of social media, to be able to gain those experiences.
Yeah, like inspiration.
You know what I mean? So that's...
Gain those experiences without social media.
Because how would
you wouldn't know. Yeah, of course you would know. Of course you would know. Because if you're somebody that likes to travel, somebody that likes to go to restaurants, you can always Google on the internet. And Google is not a form of social media.
But you're talking about teletext. Teletext is done. But
I'm going off of what you've just said. That's why I said that.
All right, let me give you a better example, right?
Okay.
and I'll leave the name of the country out, but it's going to be relevant.
Okay.
Without social media, the name of this certain country would not have half of the visitors it does.
Okay. But how is that bringing us together?
Because you're bringing
bought double the
Alright,
people.
so watch this, yeah. That country is saying, listen, within this place here, we have all these experiences that we want to share with you. How are we gonna?
That's a form of advertisement, though. That's like.
But why is that any different?
Yeah, same thing.
It is different. Like,
Why?
What we're talking about here is that when you're like, it tears us apart. Like for me,
what I get from the title, anyways, is social media tearing us apart or bringing us together.
Yeah.
When I read the title, I'm thinking tearing us apart in terms of friends, in terms of family, in terms of.
But is it tearing your family apart? Is it tearing your friendships apart?
No, of course it's not doing that. I'm not saying, listen, I completely understand that social media in some ways will bring us together, okay? Like, for example, you can connect and speak to family outside of the country. I mean, we're all abroad, we understand the concept completely. But then again, it completely stops us from the initial idea of what humans are about. We are supposed to be connected physically, emotionally, face to face, not by a mobile device. We've done it before. I mean, for centuries, we've lived without social media. So why is it now that everyone feels that this is the best way to bring?
But I also think there's different types of people. I think you were saying earlier that I'm not going to sit in a room or out with a bunch of people that are just sucked into their phone. I'm not friends with people like that, right? No. So it's a choice. In the same way you pick your friends, you pick who you hang out with, you selectively pick the people that do things, whether it's the way you do or the way you like or the way you connect with, that those are the people you hang out with. I'm not going to sit in a circle of people sucked into their phone. You can take a picture.
I hear what you're saying.
But even on a deeper level, yeah?
When you wake up in the morning, do you check your phone straight away?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
But wait,
That's one of the things that I mean though. Like people go on their social media all the time. How is that bringing us together at all?
I check my phone. Everybody has a routine though. This is where again. But if we go back to the conversation of like being real, we have to be real. If you have signed into Instagram and you have a profile, irrespective of how you use that profile, you're gonna check it. The severity and the frequency of how often you check it is to be discussed. But there's no one that's created a profile, signed in, and then like, oh, I forgot to check my Instagram. You know you have it. And you know the purpose.
And you know what? If I'm waking up in the morning and I'm checking my phone, before I've come into work, I've talked to my best friend in Australia. I've talked to my sister in the UK, and all of that because I've seen their pictures go up or I've seen their tags go up or whatever it is. And I'm engaging in conversation. It's bringing me together where if I wasn't looking at that and I wasn't necessarily reminded.
I hear what you're saying, but that's because you're abroad. And if you were still, if you were still in the same place, you can still connect with those people face to face.
No, but I can't. No, but I mean, I'm talking about quick interaction.
See, that's what I was trying to say is that, okay, it brings, let's say, families who are apart together. But what about like people who are with their families?
No, but the fact, even I said earlier, the fact that I can connect with someone who we've never met. They live in somewhere the opposite side of the world, right? Someone likes someone's picture or whatever, and you go, hey, like your pictures or something like that. You DM them, right? And then you start talking. And then you can actually create these friendships, and then maybe you will meet one day.
That's bringing you together.
People that you would have never. What if I never leave where I was? Like I was in London, I never leave London, right? Okay. And I can talk to people all around the world. How else was I doing that?
Okay, but what about, like, I'll just talk out of experience, okay? I see it around me, okay? I have my family here, and my mom always complains that me as a person, I'm not with them, okay? Like I'm always. Like, for example, Skyping with my friend in the US or talking to my cousin in Germany or whatever. So it is bringing me, like...
Yeah, but you're not present.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
That's your personal choice. How you use it, that's your personal choice.
Okay, yeah, sure.
For everyone, it's their personal choice. Because I hear what you're saying, and it was a valid point. Yeah. Because that's how I met my partner. We met and he was in the States.
So why
wait.
Wait.
I rate you, yeah, because that's real. That exposure there is real.
That is real, and I'm not completely 100% saying that social media doesn't bring us together. That's not what I'm saying. Because I met my partner through that completely. And I mean, we're still together. It's worked. However,
is he here, by the way? Just so
yeah, he's here. He lives here now.
Was he here when you met him?
Yeah.
Not initially, no. So it was basically back and forth us seeing each other.
Okay.
But the first initial communication, yes, was through social media.
But he was elsewhere, yeah?
He was elsewhere, yes. And I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I completely hear what you're saying. However, if he didn't move here, we would have probably not had the same relationship. Because there wasn't that...
Based off the fact that you had connected through Instagram, back and forth, and then he flew here.
I've still not been there if it wasn't for him coming.
If it wasn't for social media. If it wasn't for social media.
Going back and forward, because we did a load of back and forward before he originally...
But social media brought you together.
Back and forward how? Like traveling?
Traveling.
Okay, wait. So before the stage of traveling, right, it weren't like you had a picture of an apple and he had a picture of a banana, yeah?
What?
No, wait, follow me.
Right, yeah, no.
You saw each other's faces, yeah? You thought, he's nice. He thought the same thing. She's nice. And you started to communicate. You lot was clean on that different side of the world. Yeah? So, whether you guys physically saw each other or not, you started off building a relationship based on.
I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you on that aspect, but then
but to say it only worked because you flew back and forth is incorrect.
Your original connection, you wouldn't have flown. You would have never.
No, I hear you. It wouldn't have worked unless we had the first.
So my apple and my banana, you get me now, yeah?
You wouldn't have ever. You wouldn't have ever had a physical meeting if your connection on social media wasn't there.
But. There's a but and there's a but. I hear what you're saying, and this is why I've alliterated that I'm not 100% against social media, because I have social media and
or are you worried
and everything else. But what I'm saying is that it's tearing us apart, because the idea of 2 people, 3, 4, 5, how many people it may be, is they're not connecting. They're not connecting as human beings are supposed to do, are supposed to behave. They're on their phones. I'm pretty sure you guys have gone to restaurants and you have seen couples, friends, whatever it may be, and they'll be sitting there texting on their phone.
But do you?
I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
But it's not about hanging out with those people, because if you want to talk about levels, different levels of in what's the word I'm looking for here? Different interaction. That's it. Different levels of interaction. Of course, it's going to be judged by what the person thinks or what their beliefs are, or what they feel about social media. But when it comes to tearing people apart, we don't have different levels. There's no different levels to what we're saying. It's simply one thing, and the one thing is tearing us apart because people are not interacting. They're not coming together anymore.
I'd say that opposite to that is sometimes you are more, because I might be sat at home checking Insta stories, whatever, see people are out, see my friends are out, whatever, I see where they are. Yo, you still there? Yeah, we're here. All right, I'm going to come see you. Okay. Right?
Like, I think it brings a total.
And I wouldn't, because I'm not necessarily thinking about that one person. I'm just scrolling through. I'm like, oh shit, you're out with those people. Okay, and you're doing that. Now I'm going to call you, or I'm going to message you, whatever I'm going to do. But I've seen, and the reason I'm doing that, or I'm calling you or connecting with you, whether it's on the phone, whether I'm going to that place, you guys saw it. I said that.
I'm not like complete, because by the way, the point you guys were talking about like being shy to express or whatever, that it helps you. Okay, like I understand. Like they mentioned so many points that like I'm not, as she said, I'm not completely against it, but I'm saying that the biggest effect it has, honestly, is a negative one.
So to me, that sounds like you're talking about being present. Okay, so even if we talk about being present in a conversation, again, for like I categorize everything into being real. So if there's a conversation taking place whereby I think I don't even want to talk about this, do I say, yo, change the conversation, or do I just slightly but not so disrespectfully pick up my phone and just kind of like etch my way out until a better topic comes where I can be present? Yeah, because the same way, like you said, your mum was saying you're not present in the conversation. Realistically, having family members in a room, you're thinking, you know what, I've really got better things to do than be sitting here trying to find a common interest amongst people that are somewhat older than me. But respectfully, we do that. But how mundane is that conversation? Hi, mum. Hi, how are you? I'm great. What do you do today? Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? There's only a certain level of conversation that can be had with our parents or our uncles.
Not really, but then that falls back to the taught person that you are and what your morals are. Because some people have very, very good relationships with their parents, where they tell their parents everything, even about their sex life.
But, which is fine, but what I'm saying is, you can't be present in every aspect of that conversation.
Okay, I understand.
So then...
Yeah, but you can't... I hear what you're saying, but then... You're saying that social media is supposed to bring us together, yeah? It's bringing us together. Correct. If you're having a conversation, the same way you're saying that presence, you can have a conversation you don't want to be in. The same way social media, you might have a conversation you don't want to be in. And honestly, for me, if I don't reply to someone, they will see I ain't replied. That's going to bring up a whole new conversation because that's going to start some form of like, why are you not replying to me? Whilst face to face, I could probably just say, you know what, I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's making me feel some type of way.
I think that's personal as well because I think you could do exactly the same thing on social media.
I think it's just less like that's the muffle of social media in terms of like if I want to ignore you,
you just ignore.
I just ignore you. If I see you, like, and similarly with what you're saying. Is if when I see you, I can still show you the same love, but I just on social media, just allow it. We could talk about it when I see you, no problem. But even when I have seen you, if we're gonna be having a conversation where I don't necessarily feel I'm present in this topic or something that's being said doesn't even include me, if it's an event that doesn't include me, I'm gonna like kind of sit back and pick up my phone.
Okay, let me, for example, let's talk about, for example, I'm feeling some type of way, okay? Instead of me picking up my phone, talking to my best friend, just an example, okay, in general, or instead of me going to my sister and telling her whatever, I go on Twitter and I tweet something, okay? That's what most people do, and I've seen it.
That's like writing a blog though. Like before you did like anything, any other way of expressing yourself. Maybe you're not someone that wants to talk to someone. Maybe that's how
okay, but I understand. But before, all of this didn't even exist, and people used to still express their feelings or whatever.
Not necessarily the ones that don't.
What are the ones that didn't?
Yeah,
I agree with you. I'm not saying, but to a certain point. For example, sometimes. Like I myself want to say something and it's difficult for me and I go and I just type it in a text and I send it, okay? Right. So I understand, but I'm just saying that we don't have to rely on it in every aspect of our, like we're mature enough to understand that we can choose to do this or that, or we can be on social media and present whatever. But what about people that they're immature, let's say? What about kids? What about like, kids don't know that, for example, they should talk to, like they should be around their family or whatever.
I still think that, there's definitely an age that you should start it at. I don't think 6 and 7-year-olds should be on social media.
There isn't an age bracket. If you look at the whole world now as a larger network, everyone's communicating through some form of social media. Kids listen, I never had an iPhone that early in life. I've seen kids have freaking big ass laptops, phones, whatever it may be, at the age of like 5 years old, and they'll probably have their own accounts. I mean, I've seen it. You've seen famous people, they now make accounts for their kids. And I'm sure their kids are on it. Like that's.
But then I think that's a different conversation, because then that's going into how young should you be able to go onto social media. You have to be mature enough.
But why is it a different conversation? Because if in fact, any human being is starting to be on social media, and that's their only platform to communicate with.
You have to be mature enough as a person to know how social media is going to benefit you, how to use it.
But then when you're a kid, it's hard for you. Like I have my cousins, I have my sisters, like till the age of, let's say, I believe that maybe 19. Like at the age of 19, maybe you'll be able to understand that. But it's because the whole world is on social media or whatever. So no one's going to see it as in, oh, Like I see my cousins, like we go to family gatherings and stuff. I swear to God, all of them, like 6 years old, 7 till like 15, they're on their phones. They don't communicate. They don't, like before when I used to see my cousins, like we spend the whole night playing and whatever. Yeah. They don't do that. That's what I mean. And let's, like when you were talking about, oh, my friends being somewhere and they post it or whatever, I believe that social media has done like so much harm to a lot of people. Like, did you hear about how many people like commit suicide? How many people?
Yeah, but think about the flip side of that as well. How many people didn't commit suicide because they've had inspiration through social media channels?
But we can't just talk about that because she's come up with a really, really valid point.
You hear those. You don't hear about the people that are struggling. No, but struggling and finding power through inspiration on social media platforms.
Look how many Instagram models and all of this there is now, because they've built up a network through social media.
But I don't mean those kind of people. I mean like introverts, like people that are finding, right?
If we take like emo music now, yeah?
Okay.
So XXX, yeah? At the time when he died, nobody listened really to his music.
Yeah.
Okay.
The numbers since his death on streams and everything went up. The amount of kids that came out and was like, yo, you helped me get through this.
Silently.
I didn't even know anybody listened to this guy. I don't even know how this guy got.
But
you know what I mean?
That's different though, because that's through music. Music has always.
Yeah, but how did people know?
But if people knew about his music, they knew about his music. It would have been outside of social media. You don't need social media to find music.
No.
But
I tell you why that's
social
incorrect,
media
because they use social media to promote
the thing with him, it became a big thing when he passed away because of how he passed away.
Yeah.
But social media, no.
I'm talking about the kids coming out and saying, "Yo, man,
before
you were
that,
such a." It's like saying like, "F whoever killed you." That's effed up. We don't agree with that. Man, they took away a soul that helped me. Through this period of time.
But then either ways, they would have known that he's...
How? Without social media, how?
No.
The difference is they would have always known how they felt about that rapper or about that.
How would they even known about him?
Music...
I mean, like underground people, like people.
Social media does not govern music, and I will stick through that forever.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, hold on.
No, because we have to. Here's how I see it, right?
Okay.
You guys' views, respectfully. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but we have to be real and move with the time. Social media governs music, 100%. Number one. Let's take Shaggy. He helped, no matter who says it, helped Drake get In My Feelings to where it did. The tune was a banging tune, yes. Yeah. A dance on social media took that tune further than Drake could himself.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go back to XXX or any other rapper that's just passed away. America being so large, the corner of America that doesn't necessarily function on social media but may have radio and what have you, their stars are still as good and as talented or even more talented than some of the people that we currently listen to, but we get their tunes on social media.
Yeah.
Social media 100% governs.
Governs.
What you saying?
Are you talking about strictly Instagram? Because social media is very broad. Yeah. But then again, the way I find music is not through social media. I may come across, don't get me wrong, I may come across a few singers and a few rappers and a few very talented people through social media, but it isn't the forefront of that aspect. So when you're saying that these kids have come along and they have, I don't know, expressed themselves or explained that this specific rapper is the reason why they feel better about themselves or whatever it may be, they are only doing that because of the tragedy that happened to him. Because they weren't filming themselves, they weren't saying that this rapper was creating or doing great things for them until he died. And it was only because he died and the big commotion that came along with it, of how he died, that then people started to recognize or show some form of gratitude for his music.
So it's not from social media.
So it's not from social media.
His death, how he died.
And it's it's the same way you guys were saying, it's an individual, isn't it? An individual that expresses themselves in a specific way. So if I knew about this rapper and now I see what happened to him is injustice. I feel I need to say something. I might do it through social media, or I might go talk to someone that I know or somebody that shares music the way I do.
But okay, so how about this, right? Someone passes away. Someone's like, man, that's really bad, or they should be brought to justice. That one individual who did look up to that person now has potentially another 50,000, 100,000 potential new friends. This is what we're talking about.
That you can stand, yeah,
so
that you stand
then what
as one.
Then what will happen is, the person that's made that comment, the other 50,000 are going to click and see, oh, what's on their profile? If it's open,
that's not bringing them together.
How is
that
that?
That's sharing information.
No, but it's bringing them together because once they click on the profile, oh, you have similar pictures on your profile.
You connect, you
I
connect.
click follow. I might go in the DM. Hey man, what happened to so and so was so bad. Yeah, it really was. And boom, 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 boom. Hey, where do you live? Oh, I live down the street. Oh, I never.
Like, why do you follow people on social media? What are the categories of people you follow?
That's only that rarely happens. Like,
No, but why do you follow people on social media?
I say that percentage is very, very high.
It is very high.
I'd say that's very.
Going back to a point that she made, because I feel like we just brushed past that. A lot of kids, in fact, even adults, will get themselves into trouble, will kill themselves because of social media and because of how people treat them. Don't forget as well that within social media, people make fake accounts. People lie about who they are. They're not expressing themselves.
so you might not actually.
The shape, but I said that on the point earlier. Yes, cyberbullying, all of that, huge, right? And a lot of people commit suicide because of social media or the influence it has. But this, respectively, the same on the flip side. The amount of people it has inspired or has pulled out of perhaps going that direction is huge as well. We don't talk about it as much because it's not a tragedy, right?
No,
It's not a tragedy.
No, but no one ever wants to talk about tragedy.
No, but everyone will always talk about bad news or tragedy. That's a topic of conversation that will always happen because you feel it. We're talking about suicide, you feel it, right? But for all the people that it's inspired or gotten out of bad situations, anything, everybody that's done that, and they've done it silently, but they've managed to connect to all these different things. Someone that's never had a passport, and they see all these different things around the world on social media, or type to people or whatever, and then find a way to go out there and find a way to go do that. We sit around and we talk about the tragedy that it brings, because that's what we as humans do. We talk about tragedy.
I agree with you to a certain, but what I believe that the positive effect of it came recently, because
Only because people are starting to talk about it.
Not only that, it's because people became more aware of social media and how to use it, and everyone is just so professional at it. So it's like before, if we talk about before when social media first started to come out and all of this, it was mostly it mostly had a horrible effect on people, to be honest. We heard a lot of people, and I always follow up, by the way. I'm always interested in people who are there for other people, let's say. But I believe that it only happened recently because people became more aware of how to use social media. So if we go to the main point again, I believe that the bigger effect is the bad one, to be honest.
I disagree completely, because I do think that it's because we talk about it and because we feel a type of way towards negative effects. And I'm not saying I condone it at all. It is a tragedy.
That's a fact.
It is a tragedy, but I think you'd be surprised with how many people it does help and how many people do get connected.
But only recently.
No.
Right, so, okay, let's go back to Facebook days, yeah?
Okay.
For example, Facebook was where you were meant to find your old school friends and connect.
Facebook was the worst.
Do you know what I mean?
Facebook
But here's the thing, right? I remember when I was young, I used to go to my grandma's house, and even as a kid, we used to go and take out albums so I can laugh at my aunties and at my mum, what are you wearing? That dress is dead. Yeah. Look, why has it got flowers on it? And all this, man. That's what we used to do. Then it evolved into a place where now obviously everything's digitalized. Now we can go through these albums of those good times together in a group on our phones or on our tablets, or even if you hook it up to the screen. Yeah?
Yeah.
Some people to this day, and I did it, I have 2 children. I did it to a certain extent, and then I had to pull back a little bit. I can't WhatsApp everybody, or I can't call everybody and tell them how my daughter's doing or how my son's doing. So I make a little Instagram story, or I might post on their birthday so they can see all of the progresses that my children are making. There's still a lot of people that use social media for the purpose of having some kind of photo album to show other family members. Yeah. For somebody that's moved away from their family and had a child abroad that their family has not yet seen, ask them why they use social media. It's to bring their family closer. Like, unfortunately, I haven't been able to take my son back to see his grandma, but I know for sure through social media, my grandma has seen my son grow up. For example, you know what I mean? But this is, there are more stories of this nature, and more people are starting to do it with children, dogs, you know what I mean? With these kind of things than anything else.
See, I agree with you.
So you think social media is tearing people apart?
I thought we was going to be able to win them over.
Yeah, I feel like we did slightly.
So yeah, man, in conclusion, like, I think you guys should be sitting on this side, because I think that social media actually brings us together.
Yeah.
I beg to differ. And I still think it's a 50-50, but
if you had to pick one, are you gonna come over here?
The thing is, it makes it difficult for me because I just gave you the whole story about my partner.
Yeah.
But I think I'm staying here.
I'm staying here as well, because for me it's 60-50. 60-40, what the hell? I was like,
You're halfway on the way to this couch, right?
No, I'm here.
She's left you high and dry.
No, I'm here.
She left her shoe with
Like Cupid, bow and arrow, give you 2 hump like camel.